Hey, what is up, fellow Raiders? This is Vulcan Dan, Raid Shadow Legends video here, and in just a few moments, we're expecting to see a times 10 event go live right now for some of the biggest damage dealers in this game, and also we're expecting that to coincide with a summon rush. And as you can see, the fusion warm-up event is almost done, and usually what we see here is that the fusion event comes up, we get the details, we get the first events or tournaments for that fusion, and of course we are expecting that summon rush to come in. And based on how things are going, that summon rush along with the times 10 event will most likely be required in this fusion event. When I finally get the details, I will make a video out of that. We will see if we will be required to pull shards during this times 10 event, also with the summon rush, because as a free-to-play player, you would want to hold off pulling shards during times 10 event and save those for a times 2 event. Times 10 events are really just for the big whales, and they're really looking for that particular champion that may be in that times 10 pool. But if you're a free-to-play player, you probably don't have a lot of legendaries or epics in this game. That is the time you wait for times 2 event. But yes, we will see in a few hours. I will make a video for that. And yeah, the times 10 event right now are for some AOE nukers that are actually quite important in this game. So if you don't have some of these and we need to pull shards for the summon rush, then at least, let's hope that we get some of these big damage dealers. And as you can see here, I am short on ancients because we just had a times 2 ancient. I also YOLO'd some of my ancient during that we had a shard event during the middle of the week. So we're getting shard event after shard event. Uh, it was an extra legendary event from ancient shards. I pulled 10. I got nothing. But yeah, also short on voids, and we're expecting a times 2 sacred shard very soon, which is the week after this times 10 event. So it's going to be difficult. What I usually do is I pull mystery shards if we really need to pull shards during a summon rush for a fusion. But yeah, we will know more about that later on. Let's get to the champions for this times 10 event. All right, let's start with the epics first. We have the Void Epic Genbo, the Dishonored from the Shadowkin. He is awesome. He has this A3 that places increased crit rate and increased crit damage on himself for 3 turns, then gives himself an extra turn. So you will, of course, go with this one first, and you don't even need to build him with 100% crit because of this skill. So you just need to get him up to 70%, and that is fine. So he's a perfect candidate for crit damage gloves. And he will immediately go into his A2 after that A3 AOE 100% chance when book of decreasing the duration of all buffs by 1 turn. This effect cannot be resisted on critical hit, and of course you're going to build him with 70% crit rate, will go up to 100 with this skill, and this skill actually hits very hard. And the cool thing about him is this passive. He is immune to decreased attack debuff, so if your enemy for some reason was able to go before you and they landed a decreased attack, he will not get that debuff. And he will also ignore unkillable buffs when attacking under increased attack. So we have champions like Skullcrown, which is very annoying in arena. He will ignore unkillable when he's under increased attack. And there's also one other champion later on, which is also in this times 10 pool that is similar to Skullcrown, that is very annoying with that unkillable. All right, next champion. Next up is Tylisia. She has an AoE decreased defense on her A3. You don't even need to book this to get it up to 100% land rate. But if you do want to get that 4 turn down to a 3 turn, you would want to invest books here. And she has a second AoE on her A2. So she's a good early to mid game arena defense down champion because of this A3 right here. She doesn't see a lot of playtime during the later stages of arena, but yes, she is a decent one if you're looking for a decreased defense champion that has a second AoE skill. All right, next up is Husk. This guy got out of the vault when Hydra was introduced in the game because he has this huge A2 nuke, attacks all enemies, has a 35% chance, can be booked up to 60% chance of placing a stun for one turn. Damage is proportional to enemy max HP. We don't really care for the stun right there, so you don't have to build him with any accuracy. We just really want this enemy max HP hit, which is of course great against the Hydra boss. So yeah, so I believe very few people use Husk before Hydra was introduced in the game, and then now we have Hydra. So Husk, it's his time to shine. I am actually building 3 Husk right now for this account. So yeah, he is excellent with this. Not really an arena nuker, but more of a PVE nuker. And the final one for epics is the HP nuker Magnar. This guy hits really hard with his A2, attacks all enemies, places an extra hit on champions without HP burn. He does not place HP burn by himself, so you don't need to worry about that. Just make sure that you don't bring anyone in your team with HP burn. He does really well in the arena, both for offense and defense. Being HP based, of course, will make him very sturdy, even if you use him in a defensive team. And yeah, you really want that extra hit. You don't really care about HP burn. You don't really care about stun. You just really want that double AOE hit, and just build him with a lot of HP, a lot of crit damage, and he will do short work of the enemy arena team. All right, and for the legendaries, we have Bigun. I actually don't have this guy. I would really love to have him. So if I were to pull shards during this times 10 event, I would really love to have him. All 3 of his attacks are AoE hits. His A3 attacks all enemies twice and decreases the turn meter by 25%, which is great for arena, and has a 30% chance of placing decreased speed for 2 turns. This is on a very long cooldown though, 5 turn when booked. Second AoE hit is its A2, 30% chance of placing a stun for a turn, and places decreased accuracy for 2 turns. Awesome. So we have stun, decreased accuracy, decreased speed, and then his A1 first attacks one enemy, then attacks all enemies one time if the first attack is critical. Of course, you're going to build him with 100% crit rate. So technically, all 3 of his skills are AoE. Would really love to get this guy. Next up is Candrafon. This one I have, and I have a Duchess. Those 2 champions really pair well together because of this passive. Whenever he has a Veil or Perfect Veil, his offense and defense goes up. Whenever the enemy team increases their turn meter, like for example in if you're running him in a slower defensive team in arena against a fast team, of course the faster team will most likely boost their turn meter. He will place a Perfect Veil on himself, and when he is under Perfect Veil or Veil, he will increase his damage by 40%. That is huge. And he will also receive 40% less damage. And will also boost his own turn meter by 15% each time this champion receives damage under Veil or Perfect Veil. So that this is why he is amazing in defensive arena teams. I use him along with the Duchess. Those 2 really work well together. He has this A2 that hits really hard, AoE hit, then grants himself an extra turn if this skill kills an enemy, which most often it will. And then for that extra turn, he can go straight into his A1, which is a double hit if the target is under any buff. If the target does not have any buff, this is just a single hit. But this A1 hits really hard. Even if your enemy team has a warlord that blocks out all of your skill, don't worry, his A1 still hits hard. So that is still a big problem for the enemy. And actually for arena, you want to turn off his A3, which is just a self buff, places Perfect Veil, increase attack, increase crit damage, increase speed, which are all good buffs, but you would want him to use that turn not to buff himself, but to deal more damage to the enemy. And of course, if you have someone else placing a Veil on him like a Duchess, then you can immediately go straight into his A2. You don't need to worry about him placing this Perfect Veil on himself. Next, we have Tronda. And of course, everyone loves Tronda. I want Biggin, but I want Tronda more. Her damage is crazy. You don't even need to place decreased defense or weaken on the enemy team. Her damage will make it look like they have so many debuffs on them, which is why she's so great for Arena. She has this A3 that attacks all enemies, has a 75% of placing a stun, but you actually want to build her with as little accuracy as possible because you don't want to place that stun because she will place an extra hit on enemies not under stun. So yeah, so don't build her with any accuracy and she will hit really hard twice. And of course, she has this A2 that attacks one enemy, then attacks all other enemies with a second hit, dealing 60% of the damage inflicted from the first hit. So she's just amazing. I don't have her, so I have to rely on my other subpar damage dealers. But yeah, if I do happen to have her, I will strip away all of the best savage gear from my other nukers and put them all on Tronda because she is that great. And lastly, the Void legendary for this times 10 is the legendary version of Skull Crown. Because of this passive, will place an unkillable buff on this champion for one turn before receiving a critical hit, similar to Skull Crown, but also, his damage increases as the champion's HP decreases 1% for each 1% of HP loss. So even if he's on a slower team going second, he will still do a lot of damage because, of course, he will place this unkillable even if he receives a lot of damage, and he will do that much more damage, up to 99% more if he is at 1% HP. And then his A3 is a huge AOE hit that places 100% chance of placing True Fear for one turn, assuming, of course, this skill does not just wipe out the entire enemy team. Also places a weaken on all enemies for 2 turns before attacking. So yeah, that A3 is really crazy. And if that's not crazy enough, his A2 is an AOE double hitter, and this champion is immune to all of the CC debuffs when this skill is not on cooldown. So you might be thinking, well, to combat this unkillable, I'll just stun him or I'll just provoke him or freeze him. Well, good luck with that, because assuming he will use his A3 first, or if he hadn't got a single turn yet, he will be immune to all of those. So he's very difficult to deal with both on offense and defense in the arena. I don't have him. He's a Void legendary, very difficult to get, but really a very difficult foe in arena. So yeah, so those are the times 10 champions. We still do not know if we can skip this and save our shards for the times 2 event, or if we really need to pull shards during this times 10 event. I don't have a lot of shards being free to play. I might have to pull mystery shards. Of course, we cannot get any of these times 10 champions because they're epics and legendaries from mystery shards. But if we do really need to do that, I might be tempted to pull a few shards while still saving shards for the times 2 sacred shard event that will come next week. Alright, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. If you're planning to pull shards for this times 10 event, just remember that we still have that times 2 sacred, so don't go crazy. We will most likely need to pull shards during that event to complete this fusion. And of course, when the fusion details finally come out, I will make a video from that very soon. And yeah, good luck to you if you are planning to pull during this times 10. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one.